Welcome to Ground Control RC and another episode of the Pilot's Lounge. This is episode number 6. First, I want to thank everyone who has used our affiliate links for purchasing products online. It is a huge help and benefit to us, and it enables us to undertake projects that we would have to delay until we had funds available to do it. So, thank you very much for doing that. I certainly appreciate it. We covered a lot of ground since the last episode of the Pilot's Lounge, and I'm trying to create one of these episodes every month. And as long as time permits, I can't promise that I'll have an episode every month, but I'm going to try to keep you updated on products that we've reviewed, products we're going to be reviewing, what's in the pipeline, et cetera, et cetera. I believe that a reviewer should not only do the initial review of a product, but they should follow up on it. You never know when you review a product if issues are going to arise later on, and you won't know that until you've used the product for quite a while. So I will try to keep you abreast of all those things. One of the things that just happened to me recently was I was out flying one of my Minipark Jets, and it was performing fine on a 2-cell LiPo, and then I usually do a couple warm-up flights with a 2-cell LiPo, and then I switch over to a 3-cell LiPo, and then every time that I got above 80% throttle, there was this loud screeching noise coming from the plane, and I assumed that I had some kind of debris, maybe some grains of sand or something between the magnets on the bell housing and the base of the motor that was causing that, or it was a bearing going out on the motor. And this was a King Kong 2205 2300 kV motor that I had on the Park Jet. So when I got home, I took the bell housing off of the motor. There was quite a bit of debris in there, sand and dirt. So I brushed that out. I blew it out with compressed air. I checked the bearing. The bearing seemed tight. The motor shaft fit fine through the bearing, and it seemed nice and snug. I went ahead and put some high-speed bearing oil in the bearing and worked it in, because I probably got 40 or 45 flights on that motor. And then I went ahead and put a 3-cell LiPo in it and ran it up again, and the same screeching noise. So I thought, well, either it's the bearing or the ESC has developed a problem, it's losing sync or something. So I tested it with 2 additional speed controllers, and it did the exact same thing. So I thought, okay, well, it's not the motor, doesn't appear to be the speed controller, so what's left? What's left is the prop. Or let me back up a minute. The motor continued to make that noise even with additional speed controllers, so I was still thinking that it was probably the motor. So I replaced the motor. I put a different motor on the plane, put a 3-cell on it, ran it up, and had the exact same screeching noise. So after that troubleshooting, the only thing that was left, available was the prop. And I had a Gemfan 6x3 prop on it, which is my go-to prop. It's my favorite prop to use on these Minipark Jets, because you could set up for a trainer with a 2-cell LiPo, or a more advanced intermediate setup with a 3-cell LiPo using the same motor and prop. So, and I had ordered 10 of these Gemfan 6x3 props recently. So I have never heard a noise like that coming from a prop, but that's what it was. So apparently this latest batch of Gemfan 6x3 props that I received are much more flexible than the previous 6x3 props that I've received, and they're just ABS props. So I pulled out a Gemfan 5x4 prop and put it on the plane, mounted it on the motor, and ran it up on the 3-cell, and it worked fine. No more screeching noise. So I have never heard a screeching noise like that come from a prop, but sure enough, it was these Gemfan ABS 6x3 props. So I am going to source some carbon nylon 6x3 props, something that's going to be quite a bit stiffer than these ABS props, and put those back on the plane and test it. And I think I'll go ahead and put it on the thrust stand too and see what the numbers are with those props. So as soon as I receive those props, I will do another test with the motor on the thrust stand with the carbon nylon prop and see what the thrust numbers and the amp draw is compared to the ABS 6x3. But apparently this latest batch of 6x3 props cannot handle the torque coming from those motors. So just some information for you on the Gym Fan 6x3 ABS props. And I've been using those for a long time, and I've never had a problem with them until now. So there's a product update right there for you on the Gym Fan 6x3 ABS props. We are going to be performing a project with this little guy. It's an EPP foam glider, so it's very durable, flexible foam. The easiest thing to do, I want to convert this into an RC powered glider. The easiest thing would be to put a tractor motor on it. But what I would like to do for a glider, I would prefer to have a glider with a pusher motor on it. So we'll be doing a project converting this little EPP glider over to a RC controlled brushless power system. And I'm going to try to set it up as a pusher. So if that's successful, we will definitely be posting a tutorial on exactly how to do that, what components we use. This plane's a little strange. I've marked the CG on the bottom of the wing. Normally the CG on a traditional airfoil on a plane will be 30% back from the leading edge of the wing. The CG point on this glider, you know, where I went out and chucked it in the yard, and where I was able to get the CG balance to where it performed it best, you know, on its glide, put the CG at about 40% forward of the trailing edge of the main wing. So that's kind of a strange location for a center of gravity for a traditional airfoil. So we'll have to see how it goes when we launch this on its maiden flight as a powered RC glider. But if I can get the CG correct, I would like to set it up as a pusher instead of a tractor. So look for that project coming up. I am in the process of rebuilding my airframe for the Glue and Fly Series F22 Micro. I'm about 90% of the way there on this airframe right now. This is the first airframe that I have built only using foam tack. I didn't use any hot glue on this build whatsoever. So it should be, the airframe should be even a little bit lighter than the last build. The previous airframe that I had 2 or 3 component failures in the plane, and I eventually had to replace the airframe, you know, from the crashes due to component failures. I did make a couple of modifications on this plane, and if those turn out to be a benefit, I'm going to include those in version 2 of our micro builds for these Park Jets. So I'm hoping to have this finished up within a week, and then I'll be doing the maiden flight of this new Micro F22 build. So look for that as well. I'll post it as soon as we get the build completed and get the maiden done. The Glue and Fly Series F22 Mini version 1. I'm happy to announce that I now have over 100 flights on this airframe, and I have nosed it in once because I'm using this now as my line of sight trainer. So I have nosed it in once, trying to get proficient with line of sight. And what I have mounted on here right now with a 5x4 prop, because I currently don't have a decent 6x3 prop to put on it, but it's a RacerStar BR2207S 2500 kV motor. So we're also going to be doing the field test on this motor on subsequent flights of this airframe, and we still have the HT-IRC 12 amp speed controller in here, so we're going to continue to do field tests of those to make sure that that's going to be a good, reliable speed controller. So look for those coming up. What else? Let's see. We're going to we just completed, if you watch the video, and I'll have links to a lot of the videos that we discuss in this episode, but I'll have additional flights of the Hobby King Focke-Wulf FW190 kit plane. It has, there were some issues with the build process. One of the control rods was not long enough to use, so I had to source my own. But once I got the build modifications completed on the plane and got an adequate power system on it, it's actually a very good flying plane. And I had a lot of fun flying it on its maiden flight. And I've had a couple of additional flights with it, so we'll be posting additional flights with that. A couple of things that we didn't get to complete from our last episode was the dust-off flight of the Volantex Super Cub. I need to test the repair that I did on the elevator assembly on that plane, but because it's so rough where I fly for taking off and landing, what I want to do is I want to replace the single servo that they have for the ailerons and install 2 servos so that I can program flaperons on it, so that I can have more lift on takeoff and landing and be able to slow down the speed on that plane a little bit on landing. So as soon as that's completed, we'll have a dust-off and test flight of the Volantex Super Cub. And if that dual servo installation modification on that plane with the flaperons is successful, then we will also complete a tutorial on how we did that. We didn't have a chance to complete the tutorial of installing a switching voltage regulator on an Opto ESC, but we're going to be doing that and posting it before the next episode, so keep an eye out for that. We're going to be doing an FPV series of tutorials on our Patreon site that's going to cover everything from the extreme basics of FPV flight, you know, to selecting FPV camera, VTX, goggles, visors, etc. So we'll cover the whole categories of different items in FPV flight. We're going to have more dust-off flights, and stay tuned. Thanks for watching. Please give a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. Please check out our Patreon site. We have a lot of free content there as well. And I will see you in the air.